Good morning. Welcome again to the daily weekday devotional. I hope that you've had a good weekend. I hope that you're well. I know that the weather is not wonderful, but this is every day. Every day is the day that the Lord has made, right? So let's come and hear hopefully what God has to say to us, and go away with at least one thought for the day. The readings for today are Mark 8 and Acts 13. Mark 8 and Acts 13. And tomorrow's, if I can get it working, is Matthew 17, Mark 9 and Acts 14. Matthew 17, Mark 9 and Acts 14. I'm going to start with a prayer which was written by Ralph Waldo Emerson of the 19th century. And he wrote these words. I think that there's some children's tune to go with this in some old hymn books. But I wouldn't know what the tune is, but here we go. For flowers that bloom about our feet, for tender grass so fresh and sweet, for song of bird and hum of bee, for all things fair we hear and see, Father in heaven, we thank thee. For blue of stream and blue of sky, for pleasant shade of branches high, for fragrant air and cooling breeze, for beauty of the blooming trees. Father in heaven, we thank thee. For this new morning with its light, for rest and shelter of the night, for health and food, for love and friends, for everything thy goodness sends. Father in heaven, we thank thee. Well, you can tell which bit I typed, they and thy, but there we go, never mind. Yes, we should have thankful hearts, shouldn't we? And today I'm going to be looking at a central passage. It is the centre of Mark's Gospel, and it's Mark chapter 8, 27 to 38. Who do you say I am? Who do you say I am? That's the bit which we want to understand, isn't it, today? Who is Jesus? And he is the one himself who asked the question, who do you say I am? Because there are so many opinions, aren't there? So many views about Jesus from our family or from our friends and from our enemies, from those who would seek to undermine the Christian faith. But finally, one of the disciples wakes up to the reality that right in the midst of them was the one who had long been promised. So imagine, and I know some of you have heard this before from me as well, you're in front of a load of kids and you're teaching them, it doesn't matter what subject, but say you're teaching them mathematics and multiplication tables, and you ask them, what is 12 times 12? Now, I know that for some of you it might be a stretch to know what the 144, but you get a show of hands, me. I know the answer, and you know this routine because it happens every day in your classroom. You also know which hands will go up every time. You'll know the ones who are simply trying to get attention. You know the ones who barely know the answer. You know the ones who think they know the answer but rarely do. And then you get that hand that will go up at the back, a bit shy, one of the quieter pupils who will give you the right answer every single time. Well, Peter was one of those who was always willing to offer an opinion. He was the me pupil, never shy in thinking that he was right. And what was surprising was that in the answer to the question primed by Jesus to get them thinking about who he was, first by asking what do other people say of me? But more crucially, when he asked the question, who do you say I am? it was Peter who came up with the right answer. Yes, Jesus, you are the Messiah. You are the Son of God. Finally, one of them had cottoned on. Bravo, Peter. And Peter must have been filled with the brim. Oh, such praise from Jesus. I got it right. And in Matthew 16, we're told that Jesus told Peter that it was revealed to him by God himself. Wow. I've got ears to hear what God has to say. Did Peter suddenly then just get filled with pride? Is that what happened? Did he now think himself to be the fount of all knowledge? It must be the case, because no sooner had he got it right, he got it so disastrously wrong. How is it possible for someone who had something revealed to him by God was then used as a tool of the devil? You know, I often think about this for myself, that I will preach on something, and maybe it's even directly after a sermon that I am suddenly tested in that area for myself, and I do fail from time to time. Well, you think that you are called by God to great things? Well, wonder at the amazement about it, because don't think for 1 second it's because you're worthy. Are you blessed with spiritual gifts? Are you blessed materially? Do you think God gives these things as a reward? It's not true. How do we account for those Christians who are far more spiritual than us in Africa and Asia, who put their lives on the line for Christ, yet are in poverty? God does not give you things to crown you with glory before people. If you have anything at all, it is for the glory of God and the building up of the body of Christ. So we've got to be thankful for what we have and count our blessings. Worthiness doesn't come from these things. It comes from being accepted in the beloved, accepted by Jesus, accepted by God. He loves us. Now we are worthy, not because of anything we have done or can do, but because of the ultimate price that has been paid for us. See, Peter got it wrong because he had imperfect knowledge. He thought that the Messiah was going to come with political power, put down the Roman occupying forces, and then King Jesus will reign. But he couldn't cope with what Jesus was saying. He had come to suffer. It cannot be, no, Jesus. Not realizing that if Jesus is the Messiah like he thought, then he should know best. But Peter was acting as his royal advisor, unasked for. On the one hand, Peter gets it right, but Peter, and with his pride and wrong doctrine, gets it wrong. We've got to be careful too not to fall into this trap, because there's right doctrine and wrong and false doctrine, and we're only human. You know, not one of us has got it perfect, least of all ministers. So let's make sure that pride is not a reason for not correcting our thinking when it is corrected rightly. But Peter's declaration of Jesus Christ is the turning point of the gospel, Hughes says, and from it all events now move towards Jerusalem, the betrayal, the whipping post, and the bloody cross. Jesus laid it out in plain language. He was the Messiah who is rejected, and he will suffer, and he will die. But this was not the Messiah, the kind of Messiah that Peter had signed up to follow. Not only that, but Jesus used that word must, the word dei in Greek. He must suffer. How can anyone stomach that? There is a move among liberals, but also now, it's not surprising among liberal, but among evangelicals and many prominent Baptists who wanted to simply say, well, Jesus was just an example of love and sacrifice. But do you really think that Jesus' suffering in such a way was just to show us what love is? Surely he could have done that by healing people and preaching a message of love. Hang on a minute. Yes, he did that already. No, the cross was an absolute necessity to atone for our sin. Jesus was the lamb sacrificed for us. And horrendous as that sounds, If there had been any other way to save us, it would have been taken. And that's why the cross is so offensive to people, even so-called Christians today. But Jesus would not go through what he went through just to show us love. No. But of course, it is the greatest demonstration of love that has ever been shown. And through the candid language of Jesus, Peter still missed the bit that Jesus had at the end, the bit of hope about rising from the dead in 3 days. You know, this knowledge seems to be hidden from the disciples when it seems as plain as it can be. But that's often the case when somebody's entrenched in a wrong belief or wrong doctrine. It can't see what is obvious, especially to us who are reading it. But we read with hindsight, of course. But then Jesus goes on to say what the cost of following him is. Is there anything that it could cost us more than what it cost Jesus? I don't think so. Jesus made himself of no reputation. He made no room for pride, and he calls us to the same no reputation, to lay down one's life to follow Jesus. What good is life if this life is all there is? And if the biggest thing that you can gain in the world is the world by working day and night? Well, one day we have to die, don't we? And what is the size of the planet Earth in comparison to the universe, which is held in God's hand like an insignificant speck of dust? Is there a point in working to gain material things in this lifetime that have to be replaced or repaired in a few years' time? It's just some questions which we can ask. It's time for us to examine and answer truthfully the question Jesus raised. And if we come to the same answer as Peter and as Mark and Paul and all the other apostles and all the other Christians before us, then what is to be our response to this? Jesus asks, "Who do you say I am?" I want to read another hymn. It was actually a poem by Thomas Shepard, who was 1665 to 1739, and hopefully I will get it up on our screen. And I'm going to finish with these words, and so God willing, you can join me again tomorrow. Must Jesus bear the cross alone and all the world go free? No, there's a cross for everyone, and there's a cross for me. Shall Simon bear the cross alone, and other saints be free? Each saint of thine shall find his own, and there is one for me. The consecrated cross I'll bear till death shall set me free, and then go home my crown to wear, for there's a crown for me. How happy are the saints above, who once went sorrowing here, but now they taste unmingled love and joy without a tear. O precious cross, O glorious crown, O resurrection day, ye angels from the stars come down and bear my soul away. Amen.